The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Un Yang. It's Monday, May 4th. Here's a look at some of the stories we're following for you tonight. Coming up, your story you'll only see on News 4, a past bar brawl that led to serious felony charges for a now Maryland Senate candidate is being circulated. Kevin Ford Jr. goes on the record with the News 4 I-Team's Tracy Wilkins about what happened that night and why he says it shouldn't impact his run for office. Plus, many school districts in our area have put cell phone bans in place, hoping to improve student test scores and attendance. But is the new policy working? We'll tell you what a team of researchers have found. Then, celebrating 30 years on the air, our Tony Perkins is sitting down with the 4 co-hosts and lifelong friends behind the Sports Junkies. But we want to begin tonight with some breaking news. The Secret Service tells us one of their uniformed officers shot an armed person near 15th and Independence Avenue, not far from the Washington Monument. We've also learned a bystander was injured in that shooting. News 4's Jackie Benson has been at the scene all afternoon and brings us the very latest.
The shooting happened moments after Vice President J.D. Vance's motorcade came through the area. It is not clear whether the Secret Service agents and officers were in the area for that specific reason, but we are told a Secret Service agent spotted a man with a gun near the Washington Monument. He called for backup. The backup arrived. They pursued the man, and ultimately, we are told by Matthew Quinn, Deputy Director of the Secret Service, the man drew a weapon, fired. Uniformed Secret Service officer fired back, injuring the man. He was taken to a local hospital. Also, while this was happening, a 15-year-old, we understand he was just a bystander. There are a lot of school groups visiting the area, visiting the mall right now. And here's how the Secret Service Deputy Director described how that young man was injured.
I can tell you that at least one, we believe only one bystander was hit by the suspect. That individual, it's a juvenile, did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, but he's also receiving treatment at the hospital.
The Secret Service tells us that the man with the gun who was shot by the uniformed officer was conscious and breathing when he was transported to a local hospital, and that a weapon was recovered at the scene. Jackie Benson, News 4.
There are still plenty of unanswered questions. We'll continue to follow this story for you tonight as new developments come in. Make sure you download the free NBC Washington mobile app to have all of the latest updates sent right to your phone. A bar brawl that landed one man in the hospital for days is now putting a spotlight on a candidate for Maryland State Senate. Kevin Ford Jr. is running for State Senate in Prince George's County's 24th District. But 2 years ago, he faced felony charges, including attempted second-degree murder from that fight. All of the charges were later dropped and his record expunged. Investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins sat down with Ford, who is going on the record about what happened that night and why he believes it should not impact his run for Senate. A warning that some of the images in this report are disturbing.
Kevin Ford is a first-time candidate running for state senator in Prince George's County's 24th district, but he's not new to politics. Former Prince George's County executive Rashawn Baker is his godfather. Ford managed 2 of his political campaigns. He says he's clear about the campaign he wants for himself.
One thing I know about the people of the 24th district is that they don't really like negativity. They don't want to see nasty campaigns. And that's exactly what's going on here.
Ford's referring to text messages circulating showing his now expunged charges for 2 felonies, including attempted second-degree murder, assault in the first degree, and a misdemeanor for the use of a dangerous weapon with intent to injure. It stemmed from an altercation at a fraternity fundraiser in 2024.
I felt like my safety was in imminent threat. And unfortunately, I was placed in a position where I had to defend myself.
How did you do that?
Again, I would rather not dive into the particulars of the situation.
The News 4 I-Team obtained video from that December evening 2 years ago inside a College Park restaurant. In it, Ford walks behind his fraternity brother, Adrian Wilcox, with a glass in hand. The two begin to talk. There is no audio.
Did you say anything to denigrate him, call him any names?
Prior to the altercation?
Yes.
Yes. And he did the same as well.
In the video, Wilcox can be seen shoving Ford, and then a fight erupts. According to the complaint filed in court by Wilcox, Ford beat him with that glass cup. This was the aftermath, according to Wilcox, who also provided the I-team with his medical records. Pictures show several stitches to the front of his face, a broken nose, staples in the back of his head, and he says he also has nerve damage.
Did you have to go to the hospital for stitches?
I did. I had stitches.
Tell me about your stitches.
My stitches were in my finger.
Do you feel that your response to him was an overreaction?
No, I don't.
Do you have anger issues?
Absolutely not. This was my first altercation ever. And unfortunately, I was just placed in a position where I was forced to have to be physical. And that's not my character. Most people that know me could attest to the fact that that is not my character, has never been my character.
Wilcox declined an on-camera interview, but in a statement released to News 4 said in part, "I survived a brutal assault on December 13, 2024 at the hands of Kevin Ford Jr., someone who shows no regret or remorse for his actions. This trauma has altered my life, yet the absence of any accountability from my attacker deepens the wound beyond the physical. It is a daily reminder of pain, resilience, and the urgent need for justice." Both men pressed assault charges against one another. A district court commissioner elevated Ford's to attempted second-degree murder.
These are serious charges. What happened with those felony charges?
The charges that were originally levied upon me were not sustainable in court, and they knew that, and that's why they dropped them.
Charges for both men were eventually dropped and their records expunged. The I-team searched and confirmed they're no longer publicly available. Ford's campaign for state senate has garnered support from U.S. Senator Angela Alsobrooks, and he says he has more high-profile endorsements coming.
I think that this is really a Hail Mary attempt to try to stop the momentum that I've gained over the past few months in this campaign.
He accused his opponent in the Democratic primary, Delegate Tiffany Alston, for circulating the now expunged charges. Alston responded to those allegations in a statement that says, in part, "The fact is several constituents have reached out about this man's temperament and his violent behavior and the lack of accountability because of his political connections. And no, I'm not spreading it, but I will make sure that every citizen gets justice and people are held accountable for their actions." Both candidates are seeking to replace longtime Senator Joanne Benson, who after more than 30 years announced she would not run again.
How do you begin to fill those shoes? How do you begin to come into the 24th after Joanne Benson's 24th?
I'm excited to continue the conversations that I've been having with Senator Benson, and I look forward to earning her support.
What can you say to the voters to ensure that you're not going to be a problem for the 24th?
This is my community. I take extreme pride in my community, and I have not had any other incidents outside of this that would point to me having any level of impropriety.
Ford acknowledged to me he has not had contact with Adrian Wilcox, but said he hopes to do that in the future. He said he is sorry that Wilcox was injured, but prefaced he was assaulted and had to defend himself. So just an unfortunate situation. You know, these guys are fraternity brothers, and in Black Greek letter organizations, that is something that lasts well beyond college. These are lifelong bonds. So just to see that this even happened is very sad. But of course, there are also questions about exactly what unfolded and how the felony charges went away. And Ford stood by the fact that the state's attorney's office did not feel like there was evidence to support the felony charges and downgraded those charges. And these two gentlemen both pled the fifth and eliminated those misdemeanor charges.
What is your sense? Do you think that this was going to have an impact on this campaign? Even though the charges were expunged, it's still out there. These images are out there. These allegations are out there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. You know, it's hard to tell how voters are going to feel about this, and I'm anxious to see. This circulated right around the time that it first happened, and now it's coming back up again that his campaign is beginning to do well. So, you know, I don't know, but I got to tell you that what's crazy about all of this is that, yes, his record is expunged, But 2 years ago, someone took pictures
Right.
in Maryland Case
Right.
Search and documented it and held on to all of this time.
Circulated it.
And then circulated that these charges actually happened. But it was worth the scrutiny. It was worth giving him the opportunity to explain what happened, to explain to voters where he stands on this now. And now it's going to be up to the voters to decide, is this someone who I trust to represent me or not? I mean, there's much more to him than what happened that night, and that's the message he's going to be trying to push until it's time for that primary.
All right, Tracy Wilkins, thanks so much again for another great report. All right, now we want to get to some of other top stories for tonight. D.C. police have begun issuing termination papers to multiple police officials who have been under investigation for allegedly manipulating crime statistics. MPD Commander Michael Pulliam was relieved of his duty. He is accused of manipulating crime data. Pulliam has denied those allegations. 2D Commander Tatiana Savoy was also told she would be terminated. A federal judge ruled the Trump administration can proceed with maintenance work at the East Potomac Golf Course. The judge clarified they cannot shut down the course or overhaul it unless they give prior notice. The nonprofit group National Links Trust originally had a 50-year lease through 2070 to manage D.C.'s 3 public golf courses. The Trump administration ended the lease earlier this year. A warning from local police about this latest text message scam. It is a very official-looking notice that claims there are overdue traffic ticket or toll payments from the Richmond, Virginia District Court. Earlier in March, there was a similar document that appeared to come from Fairfax County District Court. Now, if you get this message, do not click on any link and immediately delete it. Flags are flying at half-staff in Virginia in honor of Dr. Serena Wanzer Fairfax and all victims of domestic violence. Police say the mother of 2 was killed by her husband, former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, inside the couple's Annandale home last month. Justin Fairfax then took his own life. The couple was going through a divorce prior to the murder. Governor Abigail Spanberger ordered the flags to remain at half-staff all day. Much more ahead on the News4 Rundown. We saw some great weather today, but will it be here tomorrow? Storm Team 4 Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammerer tracking that for us tonight.
Yeah, it was a great day out there with high temperatures in the mid-70s. Now tracking a couple of showers trying to work their way in across our region. I'll take you hour by hour and show you what these showers mean to your overnight and what to expect for tomorrow and the rest of the week coming up.
It is a widely debated topic. Should kids be able to have their cell phones in school? No doubt phones can be a distraction, but they are a comfort to some students and parents in case there is an emergency. Some say it's a learning tool. Well, a new study from the National Bureau of Economic Research looked at the impact of cell phone bans in schools and found they've had mixed results. Washington Post national education reporter Lauren Lumpkin did some reporting on this today, and she joins us now live. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So what stood out most to you from the study and the findings?
I think what was most surprising to me was one of the bigger findings, the lack of kind of evidence that cell phone bans really do much for academics. I remember when DC was debating a cell phone ban, obviously a lot of districts in our area have implemented these policies, and there was a lot of hope that they would, turn things around academically for students. And I was surprised to see that that wasn't the case, and some of the researchers were surprised by that fact as well.
That is surprising. You would think there'd be an immediate change without phones as a distraction. So this is not a quick fix. How much data, though, are we looking at so far? Do you think there needs to be more time to learn about the impact of the cell phone bans?
I think these bans really started gaining popularity around 2022, 2023. So, even in this study, the researchers look at 3 years of the, first year of the ban and then 2 years after that. So 3 years isn't a ton of time. I think, 5 years, 10 years, we'll know even more. But I think this amount of data gives policymakers and school leaders a lot of good information to go on.
True, and especially as they're trying to figure out what to do in the next school year right away. What about the response from teachers in those schools where the cell phones were banned? Even if you didn't see a whole lot of change in academics, it must have changed their learning environment or teaching environment.
For sure. The researchers, this paper includes survey data from 100,000 teachers. So really a lot of educators, and, what they kind of reported was feeling more satisfied with their jobs, probably able to teach a little bit more instead of having to, call out students whenever they have a phone in their hands. And also they kind of reported to seeing phones, fewer students were using the phones and they were less distracted by the devices because obviously they weren't able to have access to them in the classroom.
So that is something that maybe not surprising that teachers are probably on board. We know, Lauren, that several school systems in our region have already put these cell phone bans in place in the classrooms, or they're thinking about it. What can they learn from this data?
I think there's lots of takeaways. I think maybe the one that comes to my mind first is that, there's no such thing as a silver bullet. And when it comes to something as complicated as test scores and mental health and bullying and all the things that are going on in schools, it's, I think, easy to kind of cling on to one thing that sounds really promising. But, one of the researchers I spoke to said, hey, this is one thing, but there's many other ways that schools can kind of solve some of the most pressing issues. Cell phone ban is maybe one piece of that puzzle, but it can't solve all of the issues that children and families are dealing with in schools right now.
Absolutely. Is there any information about what other methods that schools can use to provide better academic support in addition to banning cell phones?
This paper looked really, really specifically at kind of the strictest cell phone ban policies. But I think kind of other things come to mind just in my other reporting. I report on schools. And so I think things like, for example, like most students now have an iPad or a laptop to have some type of school issued device. That's really become an integral part of learning. But, I've also talked to some principals in schools throughout the country that are saying, okay, well, we're using special software to block certain websites, or, we have kind of screen monitoring technology so teachers can see what students are doing on their screens. So I think cell phones are one piece of the technology issue, but, there's still so many other ways that students are using technologies in schools, including the school issued devices that are part of day-to-day classwork.
Absolutely. Lauren Lumpkin, the national education reporter for the Washington Post. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
All right, for a Monday, Doug Cameron, you delivered a really great day.
Yeah, sunshine, temperatures in the 70s for the most part, but we are tracking some showers coming through part of the area. Okay. We need the rain, so that's a good thing. But right now, it's gorgeous out there. Continues to be plenty of sunshine. Sun going down after 8 o'clock. How about that? Still sitting at 75 degrees. Winds out of the south at 15. We've seen those wind gusts over 20 to 30 miles an hour during the afternoon, so we'll continue to see these breezy conditions. Temperatures right now in the mid-70s just about everywhere. 68, though, along the water in Annapolis, but 73 Leesburg, 76 down towards Fredericksburg. Notice Newmarket at 65. Why are they cooler? Well, there's some shower activity working its way on through. Parts of the Shenandoah Valley, parts of the Blue Ridge, now making its way in towards areas like Culpeper County, back into parts of Rappahannock County. You can see that right there, right along I-81, along 66 and Front Royal, seeing some showers. These will try to work their way towards the metro over the next couple of hours, most likely falling apart a little bit. But we do have a chance to see some of these, and this is all part of a little system that's working its way through. You can see how small of a system. It's almost like a warm front that's working its way through the area right now. Severe weather back here towards areas around Chicago, but that's not what we're going to see. This is actually going to work its way through, give us a couple of showers tonight, and then give us some very warm air out there on your Tuesday. So as we move on through, say 10, 11 o'clock, there's the shower activity trying to work its way towards the metro. Once again, it will not be a lot of rain, maybe 1/10 of an inch. That's going to be about it. If you get it, count yourself lucky. Now, as this thing moves out, notice by tomorrow morning, we're in the upper 50s to low 60s by 7 o'clock. A very nice start to the day. And then during the afternoon, how about this? Everybody getting into the low to mid 80s tomorrow. It will be a very nice day. Just a little bit on the warm side out there. And then we get to Wednesday. What a difference. Look at that. Temperatures starting off in the 60s, so mild. But look at the rain coming down during the morning hours. This is when we're going to have problems for the morning commute on Wednesday, as well as getting the kids to the bus stop or getting to school. Definitely going to be a little bit on the wet side. The showers remain off and on during the day on Wednesday. And temperatures, well, they cool off just a little bit. Definitely cool off for Thursday. Thursday. Going for a high tomorrow of 85, 75 degrees on Wednesday, 64. Cool on Thursday. Clouds, a few more showers during the day, but not a washout. Breezy on Friday, a high of 69, 71, a chance of showers on Saturday. But look at Mother's Day, a high of 78 degrees. Mother's Day looking great. A few more chances of rain and some cool weather again as we make our way towards next week.
You've been hearing their voices for 3 decades, and that is no small feat in our industry. This month, the Sports Junkies celebrate 30 years on the radio in the DMV. Our Tony Perkins recently spoke with the 4 co-hosts and lifelong friends about their unique journey and sustained success.
First thing I go, you never know what you'll hear from JP Flame, John Cakes Allville, Bish, that would be Jason Bishop, and EB, Eric Bickle.
The other day, for the first time ever, I did an ice facial.
As I walked into the Junkie studio, gentlemen, what I already knew as a longtime listener, there's no shortage of opinions. But I learned a lot about the 4 friends who haven't strayed from a decades-long winning formula, being themselves. The origins of the friendship, because if I recall correctly, 3 of you knew each other first, and then Jason, you came in later?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing, unique. Eric and I grew up across the street from each other. John right down the street, known each other since minimum kindergarten. And then Eric goes to DeMatha, meets Jason, and we've all been friends since at least high school.
It was just going to be the 3 of us, and Cakes, because he had his real job there at Toys R Us, he couldn't make the first taping, and so we called Bish. We said, let's call Jason. Let's get him in. So, and Jason was better than all of us.
Jason was actually good.
Yeah,
so it's like, we can't fire him off of a free show.
We got to keep him, and we got to keep Cakes.
When you started out, what was the plan? So you have this little cable access show, whatever it is. Did you think, oh, we should do this for a living?
It's like, well, what can we do with this? And what changed our life really was I reached out to Dick Heller from the Washington Times. He actually liked it, and he liked our story. He wrote an article about us, and that changed the trajectory of the 4 of our lives, because at that time, WJFK, which is 106.7, had just bought the rights to the Redskins, and they started a sports weekend, and they gave these 4 knuckleheads a shot.
And we didn't know it would mushroom cloud into what it's become, but I mean, we're obviously very thankful that we're still doing it after all these years.
I was working for a courier service.
Were you really?
I was driving around packages.
I was selling Power Rangers.
From Power Rangers to a powerhouse, people listened, and they've kept listening.
Shows don't exist like that, where for 30 years, 4 local guys who grew up together are all in the same studio. And for 30 years.
If you listen to the Junkies, if we're having fun, you should be having fun. You're along for the ride.
We don't try to be experts.
We're grayer, balder.
We just give you our opinions.
We're just fans.
Just fans. And we're just, JP hit on it too, trying to have fun.
It's a crazy, 1 in a billion shot. But now, being in 30 years now, we meet listeners who are listening with their kids now, which is kind of, it throws us a little bit. We're like, wow, we're getting old. But that's cool. It's a compliment. People are like, I listened to you guys when I was in middle school. Now my kids are starting to listen to you. So that's an honor to hear that.
30 years of callers, of interviews with star athletes, of hot takes. But the glue of the staying power, the friendship.
It's a dream job. The Sports Junkies is a dream job. I don't think any of us are dumb enough to leave it.
That's a key point. A lot of times guys break up, egos, whatever. I'm nothing without them. And they might say the same, I don't know. But that's the idea. That's what's special.
It's the group dynamic. It's the 4 of us. Anytime one of us is gone, there's always somebody on Twitter where's EB? Where's JP? Where's J? People miss it when it's all 4 of us. So I think that's what, EB's saying, that's the secret sauce.
I think the thing that's unique about us is the friendships existed before the show. And the friendships will exist after the show. We've been together for a long time, and we're blessed by that.
They certainly are. What a journey indeed. And it's still going. Mayor Bowser recently presented the Junkies with quite the honor. Today, May 4th, the day the Junkies debuted on the radio back in 1996, is now officially Sports Junkies Day in the district. Congrats to all of them. That is pretty amazing. And that is going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Monday night. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the 76ers and the Knicks, followed by